Okay, so I thought I would take a quick look at the Essen Spiel preview list for 2025. This is that time of year for us board game obsessives. That's very exciting. It's our sort of run up to Board Game of Christmas, if you will. And yeah, we just had Gen Con, and there was an interesting preview list that a lot of people covered for that. So I just thought I would take a quick look through some of the games that are on the SM preview list. First off, Recall. Now, this seems to have a couple of designers from Revive, and I think even one of the designers of Santa Maria and Trails of Tucana. Bad Company, Escape the Curse of the Temple, and Magnificent. So, interesting design heritage there. Saying action retrieval and game bonuses, income, maps, yada yada. It doesn't really call to me. I think the cover art is pretty cool, but it feels a little bit sort of samey in this world of stuff on a map and pieces moving around. And yeah, just looking at there seems to be just too much going on. I'm not really a fan of these kind of obscure post-apocalyptic themes. I find them harder to sort of process when I'm trying to learn a game or play a game, and this just has way too many colors and things going on. Nice little nod to Planet of the Apes there, though, in the graphics. And no, that card art looks great actually, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily one for me. Let's go on to Horloge. I think that's how it's pronounced. I know that in French, clock is horloge, so I'm guessing there's a similar root to that word. Artwork is beautiful. The cover there, really colorful, really striking. And in terms of the designers, it seems like it's yeah, there's some interesting previous designs here. Nothing that I've played, but at least a few games under the belt here. Let's have a look at Amelia. Sultan Sea, nice. Genotype on the origin of the species, first in flight. Nice games there. Let's see, what kind of game is it? Tech tree, rondel. Love a little bit of rondel worker placement, various variable setup. Well, that's got to be the rondel there. Nice. I like the graphics. I like the artwork. Nice little wooden pieces there, components. Quite a lot of color, quite a lot of stuff going on in this one. I do think this is something that you find a lot of times in board games where the main kind of interface with the board, if you will, doesn't always isn't always optimized for legibility, right? It's optimized for pop and visual impressiveness rather than necessarily clarity, and that might be a case here. But generally, I really like the art theme here, and yeah, it looks like an interesting one. Definitely one I'm curious to check out. Placed the 1 of 4, a bit heavier than I thought it'd be there at a 3.4 weight, but that might even out with more reviews and more comments. Freya's Swamp. This is a re-implementation of Kai, which is a game I'm not very familiar with. Obviously, an older game. I know that the artwork on this is by D'Amico because I looked at this previously, and yeah, there's D'Amico. It's pretty beautiful artwork. I mean, I really like this style. I know it's maybe perhaps not for everyone, but I've always been a big fan of D'Amico's artwork. I find it really characterful and vibrant, and almost like sort of it feels like it's sort of a scene from an animated film, um, a sequence from an animated film that's just been caught, a frame from an animated film. So I really like that. When we go into the game, this kind of board feels pretty familiar to people who've seen a lot of older school uh, Euro games, I think. So I'm not exactly sure how this will be when people try it out, especially since it's a replay of a previously published game from quite some time ago. But definitely want to be curious to check out just because it's an older game. I'm always got a fascination with older Euros, and especially when they get a new lick of paint, it's really interesting to me. And let's see the mechanisms: area movement, end game bonuses, hexagon grid. That's really descriptive. Income, role asymmetry. Seems like a potentially nice combination of elements there. Let's keep going. Ada's Dream, Alley Cat Games. Well, I know I was aware of this game from Alley Cat. Again, I think the box cover art here is really nice. Interesting theme, interesting story, very colorful, vibrant looking board, and I actually like the way this one is laid out a little bit more than some of the previous games we've seen in this preview. Dice allocation, it looks like, shifting wooden bits from one designated area to another. That's the kind of stuff we like. Uh, okay, let's see, dice rolling, rondelle, hand management. Yeah, looks pretty nice. Wow, quite heavy, 3.89. And it's already got a few reviews under its belt. 59 ratings and 107 comments. So yeah, I guess this has already been out for a while. But yeah, looks interesting. Covenant from Devere. I saw a pre-order option for this game on one of the online shops that I use, and it was with this sort of artwork. So maybe that was just temporary artwork, and this is the kind of finalized artwork. I mean, it looks pretty cool if you like that kind of stuff. Um, doesn't look like there's any kind of gameplay imagery here. Besides this one picture of the board, kind of interesting there that it's sort of a long, narrow board with some hex tiles, some dice, very, very funky looking customized dice there, which is cool. Um, be curious to see what that does. Again, I have not researched these games in any depth before going through it. It's basically like a kind of follow me in my exploration of the games on here. So I don't know how interesting this is to everyone, but yeah, this looks pretty cool. Action points. I love action points as a mechanism. A little bit old school, but I think it's a very interesting and clear one to me at least. I know some people have complained that it's not as easy for people to grok, but I find it quite an intuitive one personally. Worker placement, zone control. Is that area control? A new name for area control, perhaps? Looks cool. Art and Garden. I think this is Sanctuary, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I had Ark Nova. I owned it for a period of time. I quite enjoyed it. I didn't find there to be very much interaction between players, which I was a bit disappointed about, but not surprised by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, it was very long, a very long game. And I think if they've managed to capture some of the essence here, retain that, and allow you to get through the game more quickly, which is what I've heard, then that sounds interesting. It does really remind me quite a bit of the Bezier game. I think it was Suburbia from quite a few years back now. Sort of the way that there's a little bit of a market there, and the sort of obviously shape of the tiles. I don't think there's a huge amount of similarity between the two games per se, um, but that's certainly an interesting one for me, especially because I love the theme of anything animal related, not anthropomorphic animals, but actual real animals. I really enjoy. So that's a pretty interesting one. Coming of Age, Ludo Nova, Danny Garcia, uh, a designer that's definitely made a name for themselves in recent years on on the stage, on the scene. That looks pretty cool. Pretty funky cover art here. I quite like that. Um, looks interesting, engaging. Nice components, dual layer boards there. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, what do we think? This looks pretty nice. Interesting to see that kind of dice used in a Euro game. You don't see that very often. Those kind of dice, 20-sided or 12-sided dice, whatever it is, in a Euro game. And the mechanism says here dice rolling. Well, that's fair enough. Can't say they've hidden that aspect of the game. Let's just see a journey through adolescence. You reform memories, shape different traits of your personality using a dice management mechanism. Cool. Looks interesting. Generally, these kind of coming of age themes are not ones that I am super drawn to, but if they can kind of make it whimsical and interesting and engaging enough. It might be one worth checking out, for me at least. Baghdad, or Baghdad, as we say in Arabic. I know about this game. Great design pedigree with Fabio Lopiano and Nestore Mangione and Alicat Games. Ronald McDonald, one of my favorite um, artists in the industry, did a lot of the Undaunted games, I think. Really fantastic artwork, in my personal opinion. And I know this, I haven't seen as much about this game, but I know a lot of people have said it's got a very elegant system and it's sort of in a nice kind of Goldilocks position in terms of weight. I know it's down for 3.2 in weight here, but I've seen this from other reviews that it's not overly taxing, but still has a lot of meat and interesting decisions. But I love the artwork here, and I know there's a really nice story about the publisher's dad actually writing the equivalent to the title in Arabic underneath the English title. So that's really cool and nice to see themes, positive themes around Arabic history and Islamic history as well. So that's really cool. Let's go on to the next game, Echoes of Time. That is a pretty cool cover. Um, Two big hitter designers here, Simone Luciani, Roberto Paelli. Again, I might be mispronouncing that name. Doesn't seem like he's done as much, but obviously we should all be familiar with Simone Luciani and his vast back catalog of Euros, which a lot of people love. But yeah, this looks pretty cool. Creneo Creations, mechanisms, and game bonuses, hand management, multi-use cards. Cool. Um, Artwork is pretty sweet. Um, I'm not usually a huge fan of anthropomorphic animals, but the artwork is definitely quite striking here. I don't think anybody could objectively deny that. It'll be interesting to see a little bit more about this game and how it actually plays and kind of how heavy it is. The artwork and the kind of components indicate a slightly lighter game. That's kind of what I'm inferring from that, but we shall see. White Castle Duel. I never actually played the original White Castle. I'm always very interested in dual versions of games because I tend to play quite often at two with my other half. So I'm really curious to see more about this game. Obviously, the design pedigree and the publishing pedigree is one that I have a lot of faith in, a lot of trust in. So yeah, curious to see a little bit more about that as more previews and so on are available. Waria, Delicious Games, kind of a cool, retro-looking cover art here. I'm not so sure the idea of aquariums is super appealing for me personally, but it's got a very pleasant look to it, I must say. I really like the art generally, and I think it almost looks like they're using real photos of fish here or very real to life drawings, paintings, etc., which actually are quite nice. Nice clear iconography, which is cool. Yeah, this could be quite an interesting one. Let's keep going. The Voynich puzzle. I've seen a few people talk about this, and it looks beautiful. I mean, this cover art is just next level, really. It's really, really nice. Salt and Pepper, the publishers. Another one of the Spanish Renaissance of, or sort of Spanish wave of publishers that's been really kicking butt in these past few years in terms of their games. Deck, bag, pool, and pool building. I love deck building. I love bag building. I love pool building. Pattern building is always fun. Tile placement. Yeah, I mean, color me interested. This is the theme, I think, based on the kind of medieval manuscript that was never deciphered, as far as am aware. It seems really cool. Really charming, whimsical artwork. I mean, that's just beautiful. Really quite unique in terms of board games. You don't see art that looks like this that much. And I think it's an interesting example of how we can do sort of art around various periods of history, that kind of Middle Ages time period in Europe, you know, it's an interesting take on that from an artistic perspective. Maybe that's something other games should think about when they're doing games set in that setting or theme. Ace of Spades, controversies aside, I'm really liking the theme of this game. I love kind of Weird West, Wild West themes. Always have done. Was a big fan of spaghetti westerns as a kid. And I love the simple concept of a kind of poker hand driven solo battler. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting a copy of this. I've actually pre-ordered it months ago, actually, and waiting for copies to come once they sort of address the art issues that they were looking at. Luthier, beautiful artwork on the cover there. I mean, that's just, something to behold, isn't it? You cannot deny that's beautiful. Let's see, any real pictures? Yeah, there's a few here. A lot going on, it seems. I know this is from the same guys that did Distilled, and I think a lot of people have. I've never played that, but people speak very highly of it. It seems I've put a lot of care and attention into the detail of this just from looking at the board. So, interested to try it out. A different kind of theme, I guess, than the usual. There's not as many themes about crafting musical instruments in sort of historic settings, so that's cool. Pulitzer. Nice cover art. See who the designer is. David Vecchiero, if that's how that's pronounced. Don't really know any of his previous games so well. But I like the cover looks pretty cool. That's nice. You're doing a sort of Always Sunny in Philadelphia Charlie sequence there with the different stringing stuff together. So that's cool. And you actually had a bit of that in the game Watergate. That was the theme behind this. That's quite nice. Let's actually see how this game actually works. What are the actual mechanisms and mechanics here? Area majority influence, point-to-point movement, secret unit deployment. Um, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Um, wow, 8.7 initial rating. That's pretty intense with 59 ratings. Well, that's not nothing. That's got some statistical relevance to it. Um, yeah, I don't not really sure I understand how this game works at all from looking at it. But it looks intriguing. Let's see. Okay, you'll place your journalists hidden in different areas of the board to publish exclusive, do work outside the paper, etc., etc. You take on the reins of a team of American investigative journalists during the early stages of the turbulent decade of the 70s, the Vietnam War, the Pentagon Papers, yada, yada, yada. Pulitzer is played over 8 rounds, divided into two phases, placement and resolution. Okay, well, I'm curious. It seems like a little bit of a more unusual game. Galactic Cruise, I don't think I need to talk more about this. Lots of people have discussed it already. Seems pretty cool. Nippon Zaibatsu. That's the reboot of Nippon. Looks pretty interesting. I never played the original, but curious to check it out. Let's look at ants here in a little bit more depth. I do love this kind of theme of insects and creatures like this. So this looks pretty nice. Nice artwork. Nice and sort of friendly and clear and crisp. Nice iconography. Quite a soothing art style here, which is really nice. These boards look nice as well. I mean, double layered there. I like that color scheme. I like those cubes. Looks good. Yeah, I'm interested. I really do like this theme of like bugs interacting in some sort of, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids scenario. So this looks really, really nice. Um, let's see what the actual mechanisms are here, besides the beautiful and cartoony artwork. Variable setup, worker placement, different worker types. Okay. In ants, players control ant colonies locked in an internal struggle for dominance over the garden. Expand your ant hill, explore the terrain, and mark your path with pheromones. Gather food and leaves, battle rival insects, outmaneuver your opponents. Okay, so maybe a 4xy, 3xy kind of game with insects. Well, sign me up. Looks interesting. Broad. Now, this is for One More Time Games. I have a lot of respect for these folks. They have created some interesting games in the past. Um, Challengers, huge one. Before that, Rift Force was a game that I actually got to do a little bit of a preview for, and I thought it was really clever. Super smart team. I think they have a great insight into a lot of games that they create. And this is all about travel. This game abroad. which is a cool theme. I think a lot of people find that to be an interesting theme. 1 to 5 players, okay, interesting. So it looks like there's kind of different cards there. Are you fulfilling contracts? Maybe collecting resources to fulfill those contracts. Yeah, seems cool. Let's look at the actual description in a little bit more depth here. Endgame bonus, hand management, income. You've always wanted to travel the world, and now you have a chance to do it for a living. Okay, Europe awaits you in abroad, and you need to figure out how you're going to make the most of the opportunity. 7 location cards with deck of 240. The game lasts 4 rounds. Each location card shows the region. When you spend days for an activity, you remove those days token from your calendar and place them in your current region. Okay. I do wish that a lot more board games on BGG had the kind of like high level pitch, the elevator pitch. A little bit like the famous one where when it said they pitched aliens with jaws in space. Like, I think just a little pitch, especially for like more hobby board gamers, we can kind of get, if you tell us, oh, it's like X in Y, sort of with Y twist. A lot of us can kind of get that. So I think that would be kind of a nice addition to have, so you could just like look, oh, okay, I get it. It's one of those kind of games. So yeah, I love the art style though. It looks really interesting, and I trust this publisher to produce some cool stuff. March of the Ants. Now this game I know existed previously. So let's see, the original version, March of the Ants, came out in 2015, so 10 years ago. And I love these kind of, I don't know why, I love the themes of like insects, especially ants and bees. I think I watched a lot of Japanese cartoons about insects when I was a kid in the 80s that I always quite enjoyed that theme. And this looks really good. I know this is a bit of a kind of a 4X game, and you get to customize your ants and create like different abilities, which is kind of like customizing your spaceships in Eclipse or something. So yeah, I mean, I didn't get into the crowdfunder, but I'm really curious to see um, this when it hits retail, because I love the theme. Be curious to check it out. Serial Killer. Uh, I have no interest in that, so I'm not going to bother looking at it. Cascadia Alpine Lakes by the inimitable Randy Flynn. Great dude. I like the game Cascadia, really good. So it's not an expansion because I've actually filtered those out, but it re-implements Cascadia. Okay. Cascadia Alpine Lakes is a standalone follow-up to the hit spatial puzzle Cascadia. This puzzly tile game, players continue the journey started on Cascadia to create the most diverse Pacific Northwest environment. Okay, turns are simple. So what's the main difference between this and classical Cascadia? Don't know. Tax the rich. Something that many might imagine is a pretty good idea to consider. Trick taker, cool. Nice clean art. Climb the social ladder or kick it over. In this sharp trick taking card game, every hand is crucial. Find your ally, manage your character abilities. You will climb to the top or plot a revolution to turn the hierarchy upside down. No experience in politics required. All right, well, trick takers are all the rage. I'm not sure I'm a massive fan of that card art, to be honest with you. Seems a bit sparse, but yeah, not much more to add to this one, I don't think. I do quite like the cover art, though. It's quite nice. Quite simple and clean. Did the designers done anything else interesting? Ooh, wait a second. Wait a second there. This guy from earlier. So maybe I need to show a little bit of respect here. Designer Sparks. Cool, all right, all right. This could be interesting. Kokeshi. Kokeshi. This isn't the kind of artwork that I usually am drawn to, but this looks quite nice. It's quite crisp and clean. Oh, wait a second, wait a second. Bakelite components. Now you're talking my language. Bakelite is my number one favorite board game component. I think it's beautiful, tactile. So what is this game? Track movement as the mechanism. That's not very descriptive. twist and engine building mechanics, focusing on aspect of track building. Basically, the players will activate one of their tracks to move a Kokeshi meeple, triggering the action on the landscape, on the landing space. Activate another Kokeshi while allowing them to buy pieces. So does that classify as programming to a degree, maybe? You're setting up a track. And now that I'm looking at this with the Bakelite sort of domino pieces here, this could be pretty cool. I guess what else are you doing? What else is happening when you're triggering these Kokeshi to move? It's very cute. Nice. Curious about that one. Oh, I've already got it in my want to buy list, so that's cool. Deckers from the inimitable Richard Wilkins. I love that guy's content on YouTube. One of my favorite board game channels. I've actually already pre-ordered a copy of this, so take my view with a pinch of salt on this one. As I understand it, re-implemented Renegade, which I never played, but I remember hearing about back in the day. Um, what are the mechanisms? Deck, bag, and pool building, modular board, network, and route building. From what I saw, the previews of this was kind of like a deck building driven, sort of area control style game from what I saw. But I guess network building is a more sensible approach to it. Looks cool. As I said, I've already pre-ordered this just on the basis of the design caliber behind it and the fact that the previous game was really well received, and it seems to be very much kind of orientated towards solo play as well. So yeah, Deckers. Looking forward to getting my copy of that one actually. The game makers. I have a huge amount of respect for Bezier Games. They've created some amazing games over the years, but I just find this theme to be such a turn off. I don't want to be reminded as a board gamer of sort of the insane consumerism of the board game hobby and the notion of having loads of games on one shelf that you haven't played. It's a little too on the nose for me as a theme, so I'm not going to be, you know, buying this game or sort of exploring it in any more depth myself. So anyway, your mileage may vary, as they say. What do we got here? IR, Children of the Sun, Edo Tool, Osprey Games. Looks pretty cool. Okay, Mandela, yeah, good pedigree. I think Glasgow was the game that sort of propelled him onto the scene. Exchanged a few messages with him on social media. Seems like a really friendly and nice dude. I think he collaborated previously with, uh, Fabio Piano. Yeah, of course. So nice. I guess this is the third game they've done together. Um, Second or third at the very least. Area majority, high scoring, point to point movement, set collection. Yeah, and not sure if it's necessarily a game that is appealing to me personally, but it looks pretty interesting. Artwork is nice, and the design pedigree is undeniable. Kalimala, I'm not really going to bother looking at this, even though the new edition looks absolutely stunning. Rewild South America. Rewild. Kind of feels like a re-implementation of something to me, but I guess it's not. Okay, pretty nice kind of anime-like artwork there. Pretty cool. Action retrieval, hand management, market, set collection, solitaire, tile placement. Yeah, looks all right. Oops, closed out there just before looking. I wanted to look at the designers actually. Oops, that's the artist. Bruno Ligioria. I'm sure I've mispronounced that name. My apologies. Yeah, Timbertown. I have a copy of this. Cute little game from Alley Cat Games. Ryan Boucher is the designer. Got a few other things, but yeah, this is a cute little game, simple two-player game, but yeah, really nice. I think a lot of other people have also really positively reviewed this game, and yeah, I think for those who haven't seen it, well worth looking at. Um, I think I'll take a pause there and maybe continue down the list in a separate video. But that was kind of a quick whirlwind tour through these games. How many do we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 30 games. Okay, that's a nice number to stop at. I might do another follow-up video and explore deeper into the preview if people enjoyed this, but yeah, let me know.